Radhe Radhe, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Did you turn down the speaker today?
Yeah.
I was like, how come it's not working right?
I was listening to such a Srika.
Hare Krishna, that's better. Radhe Radhe. Welcome to Shri Radha Vino Bihari Mandir, Gopinath Bhavan, Shri Vrindavan Dham. Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Rupan Guru Varga ki jai, Pati Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai, Radha Vino Bihari Ju ki jai, Radha Ramana Ju ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Shri Jiva Goswamipada ki jai, Didi Avirbhav Mahamahotsav ki jai, Shri Vaman Avatar ki jai, Shri Vaman Vardashi ki jai, Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. So I believe that Jiva Pavana Prabhu also won't be able to be with us today.
Maybe Lavangalata Didi.
Maybe Lavangalata Didi, or if she's there.
She's here.
Oh, Dandavat Pranam. So if you can help us out with posting the bhajans like you did so nicely yesterday, we would truly appreciate it. We will begin with Mangalacharan.
Radhe Radhe.
Page 1 of this book, Shri Gauriya Gita Gucha. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam. D-A-N-D-E.
Shri
Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Vaishnavaya Viveke Daivaya Kripabhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Brahmade Namaha Madhuryo Jvala Premadhya Shri Rupananda Bhaktira Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namosute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Niravarine Rupanandam Nirudhapo Siddhantam Bhavarine Namo Gauri Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambhana Sambodhe Badam Gurujayate Namaha Namo Bhaktivedanta Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupananda Parayate Gaura Bhava Bhumesvam Nirdeshta Sajana Priya Vaishnava Sarva Bhoma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya eva ca Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavaganyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhan Sudevi Pranamami Haripriye Jagatam Srayato Pango Mama Mandam Natirgati Matsarvasvam Padam Boja Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadmanam Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanasu Shri Shri Radha Srila Govinda Devu Preshthayabhi Senyamano Smarami Srimad Rasarasarambhi Ram Shivat Tattastitaha Karshan Me Yusvaray Gopi Gopinath Shri Sunaha Vrindaye Tulasidevyai Priyayai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatyai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupasvarupakam Bhaktavanam Bhaktatyam हरेर्नामैव केवलम् करुणस्त्येव नस्त्येव गतिरन्यथा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Whatever you do by harmonium will help. Whatever you do by harmonium.
गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया
Page 32. And it starts with Gurudev, Kripa Bindu Diya. Vartika, Radhe Radhe. Vartika Modi.
राधे राधे लंबी समय गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया गुरुए दास कृपे खायो गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva, Jai Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagwan Guru Varga ki jai, Guru Parampara ki jai. Kripa Koro Vaisnava Thakur.
Page 40. And if you don't have the song book, our very own Lavangalata is posting online on the thread all of the bhajans and kirtans, thank you, that we're singing. So if you just continuously scroll down and try to find her name, Lavangalata, you'll see that she's posting all of the kirtans. Thank you so much, Lavanga Didi. So Kripa Koro Vaisnava Thakur starts K-R-P-A-K-A-R-O. Kripa Koro.
Kripa Koro. Written. Kripa Koro Vaishnava Thakur. Kripa Koro Vaishnava Thakur. Kripa Koro Vaishnava Thakur. Kripa Koro Pray to Sri Jiva Goswami through the medium of Sri Shad Goswami Ashtakam, all sung together. Krishnot Kirtana Gananartana Paro Premam Nitambo Nidhe. Starting with KRSNOT
264.
And if you don't have the songbook, is it Labangalata posting the bhajans? Labangalata Didi is posting the bhajans in the comment section of the thread. So
KRSNOT.
Krishnot Kirtana.
Page 264.
Parama Karuna Pahu Duijana Nitai Gaura Chandra. I thought I could find it easily. Hold on. Starting with Parama, P-A-R-A-M-A, page 84 in the songbook. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta दशवटर स्तोत्रम प्रलय पयोधि जले धृतवानसि वेदम
Page 349.
349. Tune from Krishna Das Prabhu. It's how they sing it in the mat. Pralaya payodhi jale dritavanasi vedam. Maybe I'll just go slower, and if you can follow the tune, then you can sing with me.
Quite long.
Yes, it's long. Pralaya payodhi jale dritavanasi vedam vidhita vahi pracharitam mukhedam keshavadrita meena shariram keshavadrita meena shariram jaya
Keshavadrita Shukaram
Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Tava Kara Kamala Varena Kama Rupa Shingam, Balita Hiranya Kashipu Taruvindam, Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa, Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Chalaya Sive Kramane Valina Upava, Padana Kadira Janita Janapavan, Chalaya Sive Kramane Valina Upava, Padana Kadira Janita Janapavan, Keshavadrita Vamatarupa, Keshavadrita Vamatarupa, Keshavadrita Vamatarupa, Keshavadrita Vamatarupa, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Kshatriya Rudhira Mane Jagara Padatta Apam, Swabhaya Sivaya Sishamita Bhagavatam, Keshavadrita Vrigupati Rupa, Keshavadrita Vrigupati Rupa, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Vitara Sive Churane Vikapati Kamariyam, Dashamukhamoli Mandramaniyam, Keshavadrita Rama Shariram, Keshavadrita Rama Shariram, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Vahasi Vapushi Vishade Vasanam Jaladaham, Halahati Vita Yamunaham, Keshavadrita Haladhara Rupa, Keshavadrita Haladhara Rupa, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Nindasiya Yabhide Tapaha Shrutijatam, Sadaya Vidaya Darshita Pashubhatam, Keshavadrita Buddha Shariram, Keshavadrita Buddha Shariram, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Jaya Jagadisha Jayo Deva Kave Idam Mudaram Shri Subhadam Sukadam Bhavasaram Keshavadritam Dashavidharupam Keshavadritam Dashavidharupam Jaya Jagadisha Jaya Jagadisha Vaman Avatar ki jai.
The neighbors are out.
I know. I'm just looking to see if a Vaman Avatar is mentioned in Shrita Kamala. But I don't see. Okay. Radhika Charana Padma Sakala Shreya Sadma Jatane Jay Nahi Aradhilo.
You sure it's online?
I'm sure Radhika Charana Padma is there. 102 in the songbook.
And it starts with Radhika Charana, Carana, Padma, Padma.
Radhika Charana Padma Sakala Shreya Sadma Radhika Charana Padma Sakala Shreya Sadma Jatore Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Srila Gurudev Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srila Paranga Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Patit Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Prem Purushottam Shachinandana Gaur Hari Ki Jai Radha Vino Bihari Ju Ki Jai Radha Ramana Ju Ki Jai Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Srila Jiva Goswamipada Ki Jai Tadi Abhirbhav Mahamahotsav Ki Jai Shri Vamandev Avatar Ki Jai Tadi Abhirbhav Mahamahotsav Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo That's great. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namah Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandava Pranam thousands of times in the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad astottara Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same thousands of Dandava Pranam in the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad astottara Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and to all of our Rupananga Gauriya Guru Varga, especially on this day, the appearance anniversary of Srila Jiva Goswami. I'm offering my Dandava Pranam in the dust of his lotus feet. And also to all Vaishnavas, past, present, and future, including all of you who are present with us today, I offer my Dandava Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So today we are observing two very beautiful, important, holy days. One is the appearance anniversary of Srila Jiva Goswamipada, and the other is the appearance anniversary of Sri Vaman Avatar, the avatar of Krishna, Keshava. Keshava Drita Vamana Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. So I will first endeavor to speak something on Srila Jiva Goswamipada, because without the mercy of the pure devotee, without the mercy of Jiva Goswami, we cannot understand anything of Krishna. By the mercy of the pure devotee, then we can have some kind of understanding of Krishna. As Srimad Narayan told Durvasa Muni, that only the devotee of my devotee is my real devotee. So this is an important point. If we try to reach to Krishna on our own without the mercy of his pure devotee, we will fail. Like Ravan trying to build a golden staircase to heaven. He could not do so. So if we try to build that staircase on our own to Bhagavan, we cannot do so. But by the mercy of the pure devotee, not only do we not have to build the staircase, but Krishna, through that pure devotee, will build a bridge into our heart. So first I wanted to speak something about Srila Jiva Goswamipada. Although his glories are unlimited, and a conditioned soul like myself does not have the capacity to actually glorify a transcendental personality as Srila Jiva Goswami, still for our own benefit, for our own progress on the path of bhakti, it is important that we make that endeavor to remember what we have heard from our Guru Varga, from the Vaishnavas, of the glories of Krishna, his devotees, Sri Guru, the Vaishnavas. Then this will drive away so many millions of anarthas and will place all auspiciousness in our hearts. So whenever Srila Gurudev would speak about Jiva Goswami, he would glorify him in what he would consider the appropriate manner. We all know that Jiva Goswami took birth as the son of Anupam, who is the younger brother of Rup and Sanatan. So he's the nephew of Rup and Sanatan. But Srila Gurudev did not want us to think of him in terms of that birth relationship. He wanted us to think of him in terms of his relationship with his Gurudev. Who is his Gurudev? Srila Rupa Goswamipada. And who is Rupa Goswami's Guru? Shiksha Guru. Sri Sanatan Goswamipada. Rupa Goswami also his Gurudev is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who gave him everything. So, Gurudev always instructed that we should honor any Vaishnava according to their religious or spiritual relationship. When one receives Diksha, Srila Jiva Goswami says, Divyam Jnanam Kshapayati Iti Diksha. At that time, there is a transference of transcendental knowledge, the beginning of the awakening of transcendental knowledge in one's heart, and the subsequent natural byproduct of that, which is all kshapayati, all anarthas, all ignorance and everything is gradually removed, swept out, or cleaned out of that space. So, also what happens at the time of initiation, believe it or not, is that we become born again. At the time of initiation or diksha, one becomes dvija, or born again. I remember when Srila Gurudev gave me initiation, he said, you no longer belong to this world. Now your gotra is Achyuta Gotra. It means that my family lineage belongs to Achyuta, Krishna. It means I belong to the family of Krishna. I no longer belong to the family of stone-hearted persons. My family name means stone, like my heart. So, Gurudev said, now you belong to Achyuta Gotra. You no longer belong to this world. So, at the time of Diksha, one no longer belongs to the material world. They belong to their Gurudev. And their family becomes Krishna Sansar, the family of Krishna. So this is a very beautiful teaching. Srila Gurudev and our acharyas have explained that we should not glorify Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada in terms of his relationship with his father, but rather that he saw Bhaktivinoda Thakur as his Gurudev and Srila Gaur Kishoras Babaji Maharaj as his Diksha Guru. So Bhajan Shiksha Guru, his Bhakma Pradarshik Guru, actually who gave him mantra. We see in terms of the relationship that one is serving their Guru. And so Srila Gurudev said that we should endeavor to glorify any person in terms of their relationship and their seva to their Gurudev. And for us, this is why, one of the main reasons why Jiva Goswami is so important for us. When he was very young, he went with Rupa and Sanatan to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Ramkeli. It is said that he claimed that he didn't remember much of it because he was very young. But Mahaprabhu blessed him at that time by placing his hand on the head of this very young jiva. He said he remembers something of it, but very little. Of course, he's a transcendental personality. We glorified him when we sang Sri Shad Goswami Ashtakam, Vande Rupa Sanatano, Raghu Yugo, Sri Jiva Gopalako. He's one of our 6 Goswamis. But what makes him a Goswami? What is a Goswami? What makes him so? This is the history of how he became known as Jiva Goswami. From the beginning of his life, he's associating with pure devotees of the Lord, Rupa and Sanatan, what kind of urgency did they have to go and see and fall at the feet and submit themselves to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? They were working in very high positions within the Muslim government at that time of Nawab Hussain Shah. Rupa Goswami was the private secretary of the king. Sanatan Goswami was his prime minister, and Anupam, their younger brother, was the treasurer. So this is how essential they were in that kingdom. They were working for this Muslim king or governor, Nawab Hussain Shah. But yet they had such a deep attraction for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that they could not help themselves. They had to go and see him. And from the moment they saw him, they could not be without his association. They could not remain in that other service. They needed to engage their entire lives in the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so by that intense desire, Krishna made all arrangements for them to come out of that worldly, Mahaprabhu said, it was like a pit of stool. This is what he told Sanatan Goswami. You were previously in a pit of stool. By the mercy of Krishna, you have been extracted from that place. So Sanatan, Rup and Anupam, they surrendered to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they brought this young Jiva with them, whom we now know as Jiva Goswami. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave his blessings to this Jiva. After some time, Rupa Goswami, he had him grow up in a very amazing situation where he was learning all Shastra, everything. So he was also learning Sanskrit, he was learning Farsi, he was learning Hindi, he was learning Urdu, all the languages to be able to communicate, but also focusing so much on Sanskrit because he was setting him up for something. Jiva Goswami had a great gift to give to this world, which we will see coming up soon. So after some time, Jiva Goswami was quite young when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed from our vision in this world. And Jiva Goswami, having associated with those who did associate with Mahaprabhu, had this desperate need also to see and to meet with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he was not able to physically do so. However, we know the process by which one can actually meet with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Without the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, one cannot meet with the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Jiva Goswami attained the great fortune of leaving home quite young. Some say 10 years old, some say 14 years old. Anyhow, he went to Navadvip and there he met Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Who else was there? Janava Thakurani, Sachimata. So many devotees were there, but also so many had left Navadvip in deep separation from Mahaprabhu. After Mahaprabhu left this world, so many began leaving immediately, so many of his associates. So when Jiva Goswami went there, he saw so many of the remaining associates of Mahaprabhu weeping in separation from him. And there he took shelter of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu placed both of his lotus feet upon the head of this young Jiva. Who is Nityananda Prabhu? Akhanda Guru Tattva, non-different from Baladev Prabhu. Balarama Hoilo Nitai. Balaram has manifested directly himself in this world as Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And he is the root of all Guru Tattva. When Nityananda Prabhu gives his mercy to any personality, like he did with Ugra Shrava Sutta, at that time Baladev Prabhu blessed him, and immediately all transcendental knowledge manifests in his heart. This is really the process by which knowledge manifests in the heart. We can study, learn so many scriptures, learn Sanskrit and so many books and put so many things to memory and become so intelligent and brilliant that we can run circles around people with Tattva, Siddhant, Shastra, pastimes, Leela and everything without understanding the least bit of its true meaning. But by the mercy of Sri Guru, by the mercy of Vaishnavas and especially by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, everything can manifest in one's heart immediately. And Nityananda Prabhu manifests in this world directly to us in the form of Sri Guru and Sadhu Guru Vaishnavas. Means all of those Vaishnavas who are acting in the role of Shiksha, who are giving instruction, who are also non-different manifestations of our own Gurudev. who are increasing our faith in the teachings of our Gurudev. By that association, also this transcendental knowledge was gradually manifest in the heart. But Nityananda Prabhu, in one moment, he could award everything. So Nityananda Prabhu, by placing his lotus feet upon the head of Jiva Goswami, this young boy at the time, he manifested everything in the heart of Jiva Goswami. And Jiva Goswami was so desperate to know of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his pastimes that Sri Nityananda Prabhu personally brought him on parikrama. Our Navadvip parikrama is based on a book known as Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. What is that really? It is Nityananda Prabhu bringing Jiva Goswami on parikrama and telling him about all of the pastime places of Navadvip Dham. So this was manifest within the heart of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. He witnessed all of this. He's also known as one of our Goswamis, the seventh Goswami. Saptam Goswami, Satchidananda Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki jai. So, this Jiva Goswami, at that time known as Jiva, was brought everywhere by Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And Nityananda Prabhu, by manifesting all of these pastime places and the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also manifest Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his heart. This is the process by which to understand the Lord. The Lord himself reveals himself through the medium of those who are devoted to him. So Nityananda Prabhu, he is completely sold out to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, if you just say his name, you can purchase me. And he's begging, just say the name of my Gauranga once, and I will be sold to you. Did you hear Sudevi in the other room? Louder! Gauranga! So Nityananda Prabhu has this mood, begging from door to door, in a mood of deep humility. If you just say the name of my Gauranga. And we hear in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that Mahaprabhu is saying, Sarvatra prachar hoibe mor naam, that my name will be spread throughout every town and village. So his name is Sachinandan Gaurahari, but his name is also Hare Krishna, because Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahe Anya. He is the personification of Mahamantra. He is the Prem Murti of Radha and Krishna. So Mahamantra is also the name of Sachinandan Gaurahari Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he said, Sarvatra Prachar Hoibe Moranam. If you chant the name of Sachinandan Gaurahari, if you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Nityananda Prabhu will be sold out to you and he will want to give you something. So Jiva Goswami was given the gift by Nityananda Prabhu of all Tattva Jnana, all Tattva Siddhant, all knowledge of all Shastra, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Jiva Goswami from there was sent by Nityananda Prabhu. He wanted to stay with him, but Nityananda Prabhu instructed to him that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted that all of that family should be together, so that actually Jiva Goswami should go to Vrindavan and be under the guidance of Rup Sanatan and Gopal Bhatta Goswamis. So at that time, before leaving, he told Jiva Goswami, on the way you should go to Varanasi, Kashi, Benares. And in that place you should learn all of the different tattvas, all of the different siddhantas, and all of the different commentaries on Vedanta Sutra. From, what was his name? Madhusudan Vidyavichaspati. So he had learned everything from his guru, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who had learned everything from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So from the perspective of bhakti, he learned everything from his guru, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Jiva Goswami went to learn from him. But he was also instructed to learn even the commentaries of Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, all, even the Mayavad commentaries. Why? Because how would you understand it to be able to defeat it if you don't know about it? So this is one of the qualifications of guru, which is given in the scripture, is that they're well versed in all of the different commentaries so that they can defeat it. In this moment, I'm remembering that there was a conversation with, I believe it was Shyamasundar and Srila Prabhupada on the airplane. And there, Srila Prabhupada was telling him, now you should take the position of the devotee and I'll take the position of the Mayavadi. Now let's switch. And so back and forth. And Shyamasundar said that Prabhupada was defeating him every time. But Prabhupada said, unless you're well versed, how will you defeat it? So Jiva Goswami became well versed in all of these Tattva Siddhantas and in all of these commentaries. And then by the mercy of Rup, Sanatan, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Gopal Bhatta Goswami had collected so much from so many different literatures. Remember, Gopal Bhatta Goswami comes from Ramanuja Sampradaya. And they were the guardians of all of the tattvas, siddhants, and everything. His family members, Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad, Trimala Bhatta, Vyankata Bhatta. They were the leaders of the Sri Sampradaya. They were the gurus of that Sampradaya. And they had all the scriptures, all shastras. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami also had been blessed to be able to imbibe all of those scriptures. These personalities are not ordinary personalities. They could remember everything or access everything very instantly. What takes us years by searching on database in Google, they could do in a very quick time. This was something unprecedented. The amount of shastra that they had access to and what they were able to reveal is completely difficult for any of us today with all of our modern conveniences. So, and what did they have? They had palm leaf scripts, right? Everything written down on palm leaves. So how much absorption must they have been in? So, Jiva came to Vrindavan, and he was under the guidance of Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And being under the guidance of Rupa Goswami, actually he was instructed, Rupa Goswami was instructed by Sanatan Goswami that you should accept this Jiva as your disciple. So Rupa Goswami didn't formally accept any other disciples except for Jiva Goswami. So how important is he to us? We cannot just go straight to Rupa Goswami. Parampara means we must be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. So what Rupa Goswami gave to this world was actually distributed via Jiva Goswami. Without Rupa Goswami, who could have known about the love of Radha and Madhava? Who could have known about all of the intricacies of the moods of Vrindavan? But Rupa Goswami was writing it down. Actually, Jiva was writing it. Rupa was dictating. So like Vyasadeva was dictating and Ganesh was writing, so Rupa Goswami was dictating and Jiva Goswami was writing Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and so many scriptures. And Jiva Goswami was also imbibing at that time. Rupa Goswami asked Jiva also to help him to edit. So because Jiva Goswami was well versed in all languages and everything, he was taught very well. So he was engaged in that process. But he had so much faith in his Gurudev, Srila Rupa Goswami, and he understood that my Gurudev is a transcendental personality, is an internal associate of the Lord. Therefore, Brahm, Pramara, Karanapatava, and Vipralipsa do not occur within these sayings or the writings or the teachings of my transcendental Gurudev. This is the kind of faith that one should have in their transcendental Gurudev. Brahm means illusion. Pramada means making mistakes. Karanapatava means imperfect senses. And Vipralipsa means a tendency to cheat others. This does not manifest within all transcendental personalities. Those who are completely pure and transcendental. It manifests from the forms of conditioned souls, those who are covered by the material energy, but not in the pure devotees. Once upon a time, there's a couple different stories or versions. One says Digvijay Pandit, another one says Vallabhacharya. Vallabhacharya was present at the time when Rup, Sanatan and Anupam went with little Jiva in Ramkeli to meet with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was also a contemporary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and also respected by him. He was an elderly Brahmin Vaisnava. And so he came to Vrindavan and there he saw Rupa Goswami. And he asked Rupa Goswami, what are you working on? Rupa Goswami was considerably younger, young enough to be his son. And so Rupa Goswami had so much honor, respect, and affection for Vallabhacharya. He's like, what are you working on? He said, I'm working on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And Vallabhacharya was like, this is very, very good. Very good. Let me see if there's anything there that needs any adjustment. Let me make any corrections if necessary. So Rupa Goswami was very happy. My senior has come, and he was respecting his senior accordingly, and he allowed him to see it. So later on, Rupa Goswami asked him, so did you find anything? How is everything? He said, everything is really good except for one verse. There in Bhaktivedanta Sindhu, I'm saying, Bhukti Mukti Spriha Javat Vishachi, that you're comparing Bhukti and Mukti, sense gratification and liberation, to a witch. And this is not proper, to compare liberation to a witch. And so Rupa Goswami just humbly accepted the correction, because this is also Vaishnava etiquette. Senior Vaishnava, senior in age, senior in terms of Diksha, and a Brahmin, and well-versed and studied. So Rupa Goswami was very humble. Okay, as you say, thank you for your suggestions. But Jiva Goswami, he was fanning his Gurudev with a chamara at that time. He started feeling some anger in his heart. He's criticizing my Gurudev. He's making correction to my Gurudev. Like our Gurudev said once, does anyone have the right to change the words or the teachings of your Gurudev? Never and never. So Jiva Goswami became upset. And then afterward, when Vallabhacharya went to the river, then Jiva went to meet him there. And different versions I've read today, but they had a fierce debate at that time. And Jiva Goswami was expertly countering all of the arguments of Vallabhacharya until that time when he could not speak. He could not speak. And then Jiva Goswami was satisfied. He went back to Rupa Goswami. And then Vallabhacharya came and he said, first, I thought there was some problem, but then your disciple here so expertly explained to me that you are not comparing bhukti and mukti to a witch, bhukti, mukti, but in fact you have added this word here, spriha, or the desire for bhukti and mukti. That desire is like a witch. Why? Because the devotee does not desire anything except to please the Lord. So if he wants sense gratification or even liberation, this is not pure bhakti. So your disciple, he established all the arguments from Shastra and everything and proved the point very clearly. He's very, very bold and very strong. So, Vallabhacharya explained to Rupa Goswami like this. Rupa Goswami understood something. He understood that, my disciple has made this person feel disrespected because he has corrected his senior. According to Vedic culture, one should not correct their senior. So, Rupa Goswami told Jiva Goswami, in his heart, he didn't feel that way, but in order to protect that he wouldn't be criticized by Vallabhacharya for improperly teaching or teaching bad etiquette to his disciple, Rupa Goswami told Jiva, I don't want a disciple like you here. You should leave immediately. So Srila Gurudev explained that there is justification for this, that Rupa Goswami did not do wrong and Jiva Goswami also did not do wrong. If someone is preaching against the conceptions of your Gurudev, he said you should be very bold and powerful like a lion and smash it and defeat it. He said,
in South Africa. Gurudev in South Africa.
So Sudevi is reminding me of something in South Africa.
To himself and how a disciple should be.
So there was a two-part question in South Africa. When I was on a morning walk, Sudevi told me to ask Gurudev a question because many people were against our Gurudev and really trying to make difficulty for his preaching. And so the first question was, what should someone do if someone is preaching against or speaking against or telling false things about their Gurudev? And he said, you should cut their arguments with Shastra. But if you can't do it, then you should cover your ears, run from that place and jump in the ocean or any lake or river with all of your clothes on and pray to the Lord for forgiveness from being implicated in that aparad. And it was clear that he was thinking at the moment that we were referring to him. So he was taking that humble role. Part two of the question, what would you do if someone was saying false things about your Gurudev and making up things about him and criticizing him. Gurudev said, my Gurudev? And he said, yes, your Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. He said, my Gurudev? He said, oh, I would beat them like this. So this was his mood. When it came to him, he was like, okay. When it came to his Gurudev, he would defend with everything at his command. So this is Guru Nishtha. So he explained that what Rupa Goswami did was right. He was showing proper etiquette so that he wouldn't be criticized and our line would not be criticized. He sent Jiva away. But what Jiva Goswami did was also correct. As a disciple, to defend the conceptions, the moods, and the teachings of one's Gurudev, this was also correct. So both were correct. However, poor Jiva, he was feeling that he was rejected by his Guru. Now, if one is feeling rejected by their Guru, what should they do? Should they go and live it up in the material world? Well, my Guru doesn't want me anymore. Let's party. Let's have fun now. No, if your Guru is a transcendental personality and they've apparently kicked you away, that is not a sign from Guru that one should become lax in their spiritual life, but rather one should weep and cry and pray and somehow or other make their way back to the lotus feet of their Guru. This is what a real disciple would do. They accept the discipline and come back even more humble. So what did Jiva do? This poor Jiva. He went to one place, some call it Nandaghat, and I can't remember the other name. It starts with a B. I can't remember it at the moment. But I know that place we would go on parikrama in Vrindavan. I think it was near the place of Lokanath Goswami in Kadirvan. So, when Sanatan Goswami was moving around in Vrindavan, he went to this one place and all the villagers were there. They were saying, oh, there's one sadhu baba who's living in a cave with snakes and alligators. He's never eating or drinking anything. He's just weeping and calling out the names of Krishna constantly. He's so elevated, maybe even more than you. And Sanatan had been searching for Jiva. Where is he? It had been some days that this Jiva had given up eating and drinking, was only weeping. This mood is in his heart. Oh my Gurudev, without your mercy, I have no reason to maintain my existence. Karuna na hoile kandiya kandiya prana na rakhivo ar. There's no reason to maintain my life without your mercy. So he was fasting, even from water and food, and just crying, weeping in separation from his Gurudev. Immediately Sanatan Goswami knew this is Jiva. So he went to see him and he saw he was emaciated. He was very, very weak and so many diseases were manifesting in his body. He was very, very ill. So Jiva, Sanatan Goswami took him and brought him with him and kept him in a, Gurudev said, in a hidden place behind some bushes. And he went to Rupa Goswami and he said to Rupa Goswami, what is the prime duty of any Vaisnava? And he said, Jive Doya, to give mercy to the Jivas. And then Sanatan brought Jiva out. What, to give all to all Jivas, but not this Jiva? And that Jiva was weeping and crying, and Rupa was also waiting for him. And when he saw Jiva, both of them began weeping and weeping. And Sanatan Goswami placed this boy Jiva on the lap of Rupa Goswami. And both of them are weeping and weeping in their reunion. And then Rupa Goswami gave him so much affection and nourishment. Gurudev said that he arranged for really good medicine from Mathura to heal and take care of Jiva Goswami. And then he re-engaged him in his service. So many valuable lessons are in every interaction of the pure devotees. Even those ones that apparently are irreconcilable, when the Vaishnavas view them, they can reconcile these things. How is it that Rupa Goswami was right and Jiva was right? And what is the mood that a disciple should have? This mood, without the mercy of my Gurudev, then I cannot even maintain my life. How could he eat anything or drink anything? If our Gurudev is upset with us, maybe 2 or 3 days we become depressed and then we're eating and drinking and we forget everything. But he was in such a state, such a beautiful state. And what is the duty of Vaishnavas? To give mercy to the Jivas. So Jiva Goswami was reinstated in that position. as the servant of Rupa Goswami. And he was doing all of the work, also recopying and sharing the works of Rupa Goswami. After the time of Rupa and Sanatan, Jiva Goswami became known as the undisputed leader of the Vishva Vaisnava Raja Sabha. That means the Universal Association of Kingly Vaishnavas. Raja Sabha. This is the king, the court of the king, the Vishva Vaishnava, Universal Association of Vaishnavas. So he was the undisputed leader of all of the holy dhams. If anyone wanted any recognition, any accreditation, if that's the word, they had to get their paper signed by Jiva Goswami. So many personalities would even send their disciples to Jiva Goswami for further instruction. We know that Srinivas, Narottam, and Duki Krishnadas, who later became known as Shyamananda, they came under the tutelage of Srila Jiva Goswami. But Jiva Goswami's mood was not that I should make them into my disciples. Srila Gurudev explained that in those days, the mood wasn't to claim anyone for oneself. Most did not want to become guru. Gaur Kishoras Babaji Maharaj did not want to accept disciples. Lokanath Goswami did not want to accept disciples. So many did not want to accept any disciples, but by the will of providence, it was ordained that they should. Also Jiva Goswami, he wasn't interested in collecting so many disciples. Rather, he told them, although they only wanted to take from him, they surrendered to him and they saw him as their guru. But he ordered them, if you have faith in me, he told Narottam, then you should take from Lokanath Goswami. If you have faith in me, you should go there. So Narottam became completely surrendered at the lotus feet of Lokanath Goswami. He told Shyamananda, that time Duki Krishnadas, you should take from Gopal Bhatta Goswami. No, that was Srinivas Acharya, Srinivas Acharya, that you should take from Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And Shyamananda received directly from Srimati Radhika. So, because of Jiva Goswami, these three, Narottam, Srinivas, and Shyamananda, went out on the first, book distribution party, but Nagar Sankirtan, a traveling Sankirtan party. So they brought all the books of the Goswamis with them, and they were traveling from Vrindavan to Bengal and other places where those books would be hand-copied. So he was sharing the books of Rupa and Sanatan and others, and his own books also, sharing them throughout all of the lands of India, so that the beauty of the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could be spread far and wide. This was by the grace of Srila Jiva Goswami. So I don't want to continue too long. Jiva Goswami also is famous for pulling together all of the evidences from all Shastras and placing them in amazing treatises, books, known as Sandarbhas. There's Tattva Sandarbha, Krishna Sandarbha, Paramatma Sandarbha, Bhakti Sandarbha, so many different books with all evidences from all Shastras in such a way that he completely, I read it today, it was so beautiful. Was it from Gurudev? How he placed it like stones, very strong and powerful stones, to keep any negative thing out and that pure thing in the river, in the flow, in that channel. Jiva Goswami was able to give these evidences from all Shastras. He established Shastra evidence as the only real evidence, and that all other evidences, material evidences, they're not really valid because they have a temporary nature. And he proved it through all Shastra and through the Siddhanta that he was giving. So to this day, Jiva Goswami's gift, his gifts are heavily appreciated by all. I remember hearing, who was it from? Bhakti Kamal Govinda Maharaj and others, that all different groups, they appreciate Jiva Goswami and what he gave. He even gave his own book of Sanskrit grammar known as Harinam Amrita Vyakaran. However, our Gurudev explained that there are some who have misunderstood Jiva Goswami and they actually are offensive to Jiva Goswami. So Gurudev was very concerned that the moods of Jiva Goswami, as presented through the teachings of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, who was well versed in all of Jiva Goswami's works. Also, Bhaktivedanta Thakur is non-different from Gadadhar Pandit, Gaura Shakti Surupaya, Rupa Anuga Varayate, and the best of Rupa Anugas. Those are the followers of Rupa Goswami. He is the best of them. So, of course, he would understand what Jiva Goswami gave from that perspective. But anyhow, he was well versed. He studied the works of Jiva Goswami for years. And he presented so many transcendental literatures, as Jiva Goswami did. He made commentaries on so many of the works of Rupa Goswami, and also gave his own beautiful vision of the transcendental realm. A Rasik literature full of all philosophy as well, known as Ananda Vrindavan Champu. Interestingly enough, our Guru Varga have explained that there it is full of so many siddhants. The Gurudev said it was composed in Goloka Vrindavan and then manifest here in this world. I read it today. I thought, wow, that's beautiful. If you see the works of our Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, they're also done in that way. If you read through Krishna book, so much ras is there, but it is always qualified with heavy siddhanta so that we don't misconstrue or misunderstand. So Jiva Goswami also gave everything in such a careful way so that the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be proven as irrefutable facts, and there would be no way to disprove them. So just as he completely put Vallabhacharya in line at that time, the other story was that there was a Digvijay Pandit, someone who travels from place to place, wanting to establish himself as the best of all knowers of knowledge. And he came to Vrindavan, and he wanted everyone to be defeated. He wanted to defeat them, and that they would have to put their signature that I am defeated. So Rupa and Sanatan were like, why do I even want to waste my time? You really want that much pride and ego? Here, have our name. Boom. They didn't say it like that, but this is what you want? Okay, here, have our name. Jiva Goswami could not tolerate that, so he soundly defeated that person. I believe it's the same kata. So, Jiva Goswami, he established all the truths and the siddhantas and everything. There are a couple places where Jiva Goswami has said a couple of things which create some conflict for us who are coming in the line of Rupa Goswami. Although we understand that he is the best of the Rupa Anugas, he is that personality who distributed what Rupa Goswami wanted to give for time, place, and circumstance. Kala Desha Patra. There was necessity for him to present some things which appear to be a certain way. But our Guru Varga, who have deep insight, those who are in his line have explained or understood his intention. So in some places it appears that he's representing Svakiyavad, means the conception that Radha and Krishna are married. Because at that time, they were actually trying to separate Radha and Krishna, Radha from Govinda. So he was presenting a certain thing, because the Pandits and the Brahmins at that time, they were like, how can we put Radha next to Krishna? She's not his wife. She's the wife of another. This will teach immorality to the world. How can we do that? So they were opposed to the idea of Radha and Krishna being worshipped together. The Jiva Goswami established through all Shastras this conception that the Gopis and Srimati Radhika are married to Krishna. So this is kind of Parakiyavad. So that they would be able to accept Radha and Krishna, he gave this conception. But this is also provable by Shastra, as we've told in the last few days, since Radhashtami, Lalita Saptami as well, that Krishna himself has manifested Srimati Radhika. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita Virya Eva Nija Rupataya Kalabhi. She is non-different from him, Ekatma, the same soul manifest outside of himself for the purpose of tasting ras. And she herself has manifest unlimited potencies or shaktis who are embodiments of her own bhavas, her own moods of love and affection for Krishna, but they're non-different from herself, essentially. So there is actually, you can say, Svakiya. it means one's own. She is his own. Nija Rupa. Nija Rupa, his own form manifests in front of him. And they're all her own forms. So in essence, they're non-different from each other. They are his. And therefore, it is okay to say Svakya. Svakya. But from the perspective of others, they were going to make the aparadha, or against Radha, of separating Radha from Krishna. So for that particular time, in that particular groups, because he was in a certain situation, he had to address things in a certain way. And so our Guru Varga have opened our eyes to these certain, what appear to be differences or variations, and clarified them for us. And we should understand Jiva Goswami through the mood of those who are his followers, those who have followed in line of Jiva Goswami, including Bhaktivedanta Thakur. We're in the Bhaktivedanta Dhara, the flow of the conceptions that Bhaktivedanta Thakur has given to us. So, another one is this idea of prayujyamanam. There's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam where Narada Muni is saying that he attained a spiritual body suitable for seva. So in the works of Jiva Goswami, it appears that there he is saying that there are basically blanks in the spiritual world. The idea that has been promoted is that there's like a bunch of coats in a closet waiting, means suitable spiritual bodies for us, and that when we go to the spiritual world, we put on the coat, put it over our bodies, zip it up, and then we have a spiritual body. This is the idea that's presented. Not by Jiva Goswami himself, but this is how it has been translated, what he has said. And it seems that he is contradicting what all of our other Vaishnava acharyas have given, what they have said. So they have reconciled what Jiva Goswami has given. When you look at it from one perspective, you can see it like that. But it's also another way of saying, and this is what our Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj said, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, Bhakti Jivan Janardhan Maharaj, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and all of our Guru Varga, our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, all of those in our Rupanuga Guru Varga have spoken and explained it in this way. And it appears that Jiva Goswami is over there by himself, that they've established that no, he's not. You just need to understand him properly. So if we jump over all of their heads and then we go to Jiva Goswami, we might understand it one way. But if we understand Jiva Goswami through the medium of our Guru Varga, which is really how Parampara works, pre-Google and pre-database, how do we receive transcendental knowledge? By serving our transcendental Gurudev. By our Gurudev being pleased, and by Gurudev manifesting those truths in our hearts. Not by jumping over their heads and assuming that I understand better than all of them. Srila Gurudev said you cannot imagine the level of the qualification of those persons who were present in the meeting when they were discussing the Swarupa of the Jiva. So our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, and all of our Bhakti Jivan Janardhan Maharaj and so many other stalwart Vaishnavas were present in that meeting, and they were giving all evidences from all Shastras that the nature of the soul is inherent within it, and that because it's already inherent within it, then it already has that eternal transcendental potential. So they gave that as an example. If that potential is there, then from the other example, it seems like, oh, it's already there in waiting. Well, it is in potential, right? It's got to be there. If the soul is eternal, and the soul has a particular serving nature, and will bear a particular kind of fruit, and it can never die, then one day it must do such. It has to. So the potential is there. So from a perspective of absolute vision, then you will see in one sense that it is already there. If you're looking at it from no past, present, or future conception. So our Guru Varga have explained it in a way that we can understand Srila Jiva Goswami, that our Swarup is inherent. Everything is there within a seed. You just can't see it yet, but it's all there in potential. It just needs to be planted, watered, given protection, nourishment, sunlight, and nurtured, and then gradually it will grow. It will bind itself to the lotus feet of Krishna and bear its particular flavor of fruits that Krishna is greedy to taste. So these things are all reconciled by our Gurudev and our Guru Varga. But Srila Gurudev was saying that Jiva Goswami is the best of the followers of Rupa Goswami. He is his disciple. And without Jiva Goswami, we would have not been able to receive everything that Rupa Goswami wanted to give. So in the same way that we say, for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we glorify Rupa Goswami as the personality who has established in this world the inner heart's desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has established that. So in the same way, we pray to Jiva Goswami, you are that person who has established within this world the inner heart's desire of Srila Rupa Goswami. So Srila Gurudev would say that on this day we should pray to Jiva Goswami, that the kind of nishta he has in Srila Rupa Goswami, that conviction he has in the dust of the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami, and how he served Rupa Goswami in every way, how he also shared and preached and practiced and followed all of these things, that we can pray to Jiva Goswami that may even one drop of your moods of dedication and service to the lotus feet of Sri Rupa manifest in our hearts. We also know that Jiva Goswami is Vilas Manjari in Krishna's Leela. So he's an intimate maidservant of Srimati Radhika and Krishna, leaning towards Srimati Radhika, Rupa Manjari Anugatya in Krishna Leela. So he's no ordinary personality. He is a transcendental personality. Can you turn that switch off?
I'm doing it now.
Just the switch behind it. Thank you.
It.
So, also, Srila Jiva Goswamipada ki jai. We've got a few minutes left. Today is also the auspicious appearance day of Mahavishnu Avatar Sri Vamandev. So we chanted before, Chalayasi Vikramane Malam Adbhuta Vamana Padanaka Nira Janita Janapavana Keshava Dritta Vamana Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhyutanam Dharmasya Tadatmanam Shajamyaham Paritranaya Sadhunam, etc. That I descend from time to time for what purpose? To re-establish the principles of dharma and to remove adharma, to protect my devotees and to remove the demons. This is why Krishna says he descends from time to time. So in this particular Dash Avatar Stotram, there it says Keshava Dritta Vamana Rupa. Actually, all of these incarnations are manifested from the original, and we've been reading about him every day in this beautiful book, Going Beyond Vaikuntha. Keshava means Krishna. Keshava Dritta, Krishna himself is manifesting in all of these different forms because he is the source, he is avatari, he is the source of all avatars. As Srimad Bhagavatam tells us, after mentioning all of the different incarnations, so many incarnations, etc. and so forth, it actually said there are unlimited incarnations like waves in the ocean or rivulets or flowing from the sea or anything like that. Unlimited incarnations. However, ete changsa kala pungsa krishnastu bhagavan swayam. Krishna himself is himself, Bhagavan, the supreme absolute truth. And all of these others, cha angsa kala, means they are his portions and portions of his portions. Just like the full moon is there, and then we see different phases of that moon. So all of these are manifestations of Krishna. So Keshava Dritta Vamana Rupa. Krishna himself has manifested in such a beautiful form as Vamandev. Jai Krishna, Jai Krishna. Srila Gurudev said that for those who are aspiring to have a one-pointed mood to their particular Ishtadev, then they should see all other forms of the Lord in relation to their own Ishtadev. So for us, he told us that when you see any beautiful murti or form or picture of Ram, because he's instructed us or detected within us that we have a relationship with Krishna, he said, we should say, "Oh Krishna, you have appeared in such a beautiful form as Ram. Jai Krishna, Jai Krishna." So now we're seeing that Krishna, Keshava Drita, has manifested into such a beautiful, sweet form as Vamandev, a small, young dwarf-like brahmachari. So Bali Maharaj, he's the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. He's the king of the demons. And he was doing yajnas and also waging war throughout the entire universe. And this is a king's right and king's duty also to fight other kingdoms and take over. And everyone else owes him allegiance. And this is the dharma of a king. So Bali Maharaj, with his very, very powerful armies, had defeated practically the entire universe. And he had taken over even the throne of Indra. He had taken over everything, and he was doing one final yajna. What is the yajna's purpose? To claim everything. And that yajna was a yajna to Vishnu, by the way. So Bali Maharaj was engaged in this yajna with all of the demons because they also wanted to gain the favor of Vishnu, because they know if someone has the favor of Vishnu, then they've got it made. So as he was doing this, he was gaining so much power and potency. So the demigods, as they always do, they were becoming afraid, they were becoming upset. They prayed to the Lord. The Lord took birth from the womb of the mother of the demigods. His name is Upendra. Upendra means the younger brother of Indra. So, as Bali Maharaj is there, and he's doing this yajna to actually be the emperor of the entire universe. Very, very beautiful, sweet form, like a Brahman brahmachari, very young and dwarf, comes walking into the assembly. Now, at the time of yajna, it is said that if any Brahmin comes who you don't know, even in Indian culture, if any uninvited guest comes, you should treat them like Narayan himself, because you don't know, he might be. And if you have an invited guest, you should treat them like Indra. And if you do not treat your guests like anything, then you are actually outside of proper culture. You are considered to be, you are lacking in proper etiquette. So this beautiful young brahmachari boy came, and all were charmed immediately. He had a small umbrella, a little stick, a kamandalu. Very sweet, very attractive. And immediately at that time, Bali Maharaj was charmed just upon seeing him. And some say daughter and others say sister, Ratnavali of Bali Maharaj, younger sister. When she saw him, she thought, "Oh my God, he's so cute. I wish I could have a son like him. Oh, if he could only be my son," she had this desire in her heart. So at that time, Bali Maharaj was so willing and happy to give dan, to give charity. Why? This brahmachari came. If you give charity at that time, it's considered even much more auspicious. So he wanted to give in charity. So this boy came in front of him and he said, "Oh, you're so sweet. Would you like something? I will give you anything in charity." And this boy said to him, "I don't need anything. I'm happy I'm a brahmachari. I don't want anything to bind me in this world. I'm happy just doing my sadhan, bhajan." And Bali Maharaj said, "Oh, you should take something. Take something." And he said, "Okay, I will take simply 3 steps of land. 3 small steps of land." And Bali Maharaj was like, "That's a strange kind of thing to request. I can give you anything. I can give you as much land as I own the entire universe. I can give you palaces and princesses and land and everything. So much wealth. And you're asking only for this?" And this young Brahmin boy, he was like, "Oh, I don't need anything else. Just these 3. At that time, Shukracharya, the guru of Bali Maharaj, he's the guru of the demons, Shukracharya. He warned Bali Maharaj, "Be careful. This is Vishnu. Don't just give him anything. He's the biggest cheater. He will cheat you out of anything. And Bali Maharaj was thinking, if it's Vishnu and he wants something from me, he can take it anyway, because it's all his anyway. But Shukracharya is like, don't give him anything. But Bali Maharaj had already told him, whatever you want, I will give you. And then Bali Maharaj wanted to seal the deal. So when they seal the deal, they do something called achman. The achman means I am going to make my vow and make my promise. One time there was someone who was harassing the ladies in the temple in Mathura Keshavji Gaudiya Math, going from one to the next, and the brahmacharis had caught him, because he was coming day after day. They caught him, they threw him in the room, taught him a lesson, and then they said, now we're going to bring you to the Guru, and he will curse you. And they brought him in front of Gurudev, and Gurudev put his finger on his thread, and they started to do achman. And that person was on the floor begging and crying, and please don't, no. And Gurudev is like, leave and don't return. Like this, because he was creating so much disturbance. So they understand the value of the vow that any sadhu or any person makes through achman. So Bali Maharaj, the king of the demons, the grandson of Prahlad, he wanted to do achman. Shukracharya was thinking, he's not following my instruction. He's disobeying my order. I have to stop him from doing this achman, otherwise everything will be ruined. All of the hard work that Bali Maharaj has done and all of us demons have done, it will go to nothing. Vishnu will take everything from him. He's such a cheater. So Shukracharya is thinking what to do. So Bali Maharaj at that moment, he's trying to do achman from the kamandalu, this container with the spout. And Shukracharya was also a very perfected yogi. So he was able to make himself very small and entered into that water pot. And he was peeking out through this thing, blocking the water from coming. And Bali Maharaj was trying to make this water come in. It wasn't coming. And Vamandev said, oh, no problem. So he takes one blade of kush grass and he pokes it through the spout. And it poked the eye of Shukracharya. This is all written about in the Shastra. And Srila Gurudev said, what is the import of this? So many persons, they may be in the role of guru, but if they can only help you with material things, but do not help you to serve Bhagavan, then they're considered already blind. Blind in one eye. So Shukracharya became blind in one eye. This is actually because he was already blind. He was trying to stop his disciple, Bali Maharaj, from worshipping Vishnu. So Shastra tells us, Gurur na sasyat, svajano na sasyat, pita na sasyat, jarani na sasyan, daivam na sasyan, na pachista sasyan, namochayadyasam mrityum. That personality who's in a position of superior, whom you are dependent on, if they cannot help you or stop you from going on the path which leads to death, they are not fit to be in that position. In fact, they are fit to be rejected. The first one mentioned is Guru. Gurur na sasyat. If your Guru cannot help you to go toward Krishna and serve Krishna, but instead, by their association, you go on the path to death, they are not fit to be in that position. They are fit to be rejected. Gurur na sasyat, svajano na sasyat. Your own family and friends. Pita na sasyat, your own father. Janani na sasyat, your own mother. Daivam na sasyam, the demigods. Napatishta sasyan, even your own husband. Namochayadya, if they cannot give you liberation and free you from the path which leads to death, they are fit to be rejected. So Bali Maharaj rejected the order of his Guru Shukracharya to serve Vishnu in the form of this very charming Brahmin boy. And because of this, Bali Maharaj is glorified in all Shastra, because he rejected the order of that false guru. And why am I using the term false guru? What is guru? Guru means heavy, saturated with truth. Guru means one who brings one from gu to ru, from the darkness to the light. What is that light? That light is service to Bhagavan, service to Krishna. This is the real light. Everything else is nonsense. Everything else is nonsense. It's not reality. All of the dualities of this material world, all the goodness, passion, and ignorance that everyone is placing so much value on. It's just cyclical. Sometimes doing one, sometimes doing the next. The only thing that removes us from all of that, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityaja, all your dharmas, give it up. All your material dharmas. So his adherence to the material teachings of his material guru, he had to reject that. Mam ekam sharanam raja. Bali Maharaj surrendered exclusively to Vamandev. So at that time, Vamandev used the straw and poked and cleared it out. Shukracharya was blind in one eye. And then Bali Maharaj was able to do this achman. So at that time, he did achman and made the vow, I will give you 3 steps of land. Immediately upon doing the achman, Vamandev, this very young, beautiful brahmachari, assumed an enormous size, the size of the universe itself. And with 1 step, he claimed the entire nether regions. And the next step, he claimed the entire upper planetary systems and everything in between. And it is said that when he was claiming the upper planetary systems at that time, his toe slightly pierced through the outer covering of the universe, and water from the Garbhodak ocean, which all of the universes are floating in, somehow entered inside. And that water came to the heavenly planets, and she is known as Ganga. That water has washed the feet of Vamandev, Vishnu avatar. And then that Ganga has come to this world how? By the prayer of Bhagirath. Bhagirath was praying to Mahadev, Lord Shiva. Because Ganga, if she would have come to earth, without the aid of Lord Shiva, would have destroyed everything by the weight of her falling on the earth. So Lord Shiva, he accepted the prayers of Bhagirath and accepted Ganga on his head. He accepted the Charanamrita of Vamandev, Vishnu avatar, on his head. So catching that Ganga inside, then Bhagirath again prayed, please release her. And then from there you see that Ganga comes from the head of Lord Shiva and then flows through all of India. So Ganga was brought here by Bhagirath to purify his ancestors. So just an interesting monkey fight outside. So an interesting tidbit of information. This is transcendental trivia, something I learned when I was 12 years old in Gurukul. The entomatic historical source of the word shampoo, which you use for cleaning your hair, comes from Shambhu, who is Lord Shiva, whose hair is always being washed by Ganga. I thought you might find that interesting. Srimad Bhagavatam specifically tells this particular pastime to show that even Lord Shiva is always taking the Charanamrit, the water which has washed the feet of Vishnu, on his head. So Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. This is another proof that he's the greatest servant of Vishnu. That Lord Shiva is always taking this subservient role. So Vamandev pierced the outer covering of the universe. And then he said, you promised 3 steps. Where can I take my 3rd step? So today, for the first time, I read from Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj. He said that Bali Maharaj looked toward his wife, and his wife signaled him here. And I thought this is quite interesting, because Bali Maharaj had already given everything else, but he did not give himself. And then when he looked toward his wife, she wanted him to do the right thing. And what is the right thing? To surrender yourself to the Supreme Lord. So therefore she's a true Dharma Patni. She's telling her husband, giving him that indication, you should surrender your very self. So Bali Maharaj offered his head like this. And then Vamandev placed his 3rd step on the head of Bali Maharaj. And then pressed him into the nether regions, into Sutala. It's another planetary system. So by that, because he rejected the order of his guru, he was able to receive the direct touch of the lotus feet of the Lord on his head. And therefore, I wanted to chant this bhajan today, but we don't really have any time to do so. There you see, Bhajahure Manashri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanarvindare. The last one, Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dasire Pujana Sakijana Atmani Vedana Govinda Dasa Abhilashare. This Atmani Vedana, it is said that Bali Maharaj is personifying this Atmani Vedana, that he's surrendering his very self to the Supreme Lord. That I've already given everything else, and he actually felt charmed that the Supreme Lord came to him to beg. He was like, my God, he's coming to me like this to beg? Let me take the position as a donor. So he was satisfying the Lord also by reciprocating with how the Lord came to him. You're coming as a beggar, then I will be the donor. So at that time, the sister of Bali Maharaj, Ratnavali, she was thinking, before I thought this young boy was so charming, I wanted to have him as my son. But now seeing how he cheated my father out of everything, she became very angry, and she thought, if he were my son, I would put poison on my breast and kill him. So she had this desire. So she came back as Putana and was able to endeavor to fulfill that desire. And yet, because she came as a mother, she made herself very beautiful, like Lakshmi Devi herself, and entered into the inner chambers of Nanda Bhavan, Yashoda Bhavan, the house of Mother Yashoda, into the inner chambers to take Krishna, and they all let her come by because she was so beautiful. Our Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada say that Putana is the representation of the false guru, making such a beautiful and good presentation that even great devotees become apparently bewildered, and they let her right through. Because of her smiling beauty and the lotus in her hand, Yashoda and Rohini thought that the goddess of fortune had come. So, it's part of the song. So, this is the representation of false guru. They come to take it appears that they're coming to nourish your bhakti, but really they're coming to steal it and destroy your bhakti. So this is something which has been very heavily discussed by all of our Guru Varga, but that's another subject. In fact, we will discuss that in Going Beyond Vaikuntha, because it's talking about how Krishna even awards liberation to the demons. So she desired that, and because Krishna is the fulfiller of all desires, like we mentioned the other day, akama sarvakamava mokshakaram udaradi, Krishna fulfills all desires, so he even fulfilled her desire. That yes, you can have me like your son, but you can also endeavor to poison me. And still he gave her the eternal position as a nursemaid in Goloka Vrindavan. So Bali Maharaj, after that, then he was bound by Vamandev by the ropes of Varuna. It said the ropes of Varuna were in the form of snakes. So Bali Maharaj was bound and put to shame. At that time, Prahlad Maharaj appeared there, the grandfather of Bali Maharaj, and other personalities. And then Prahlad Maharaj, it is said, somehow began to petition on his behalf. You've already taken everything and now you've bound him? But our Guru Varga explained that when the Lord receives everything in surrender, then he fully binds his devotee and never lets them go. So Bali Maharaj had this understanding and realization as well. It is said that by the mercy of Prahlad, Bali Maharaj had this natural inclination to serve the Lord. This is what it means by any member in your family becomes liberated. Because he actually rejected the order of his guru to serve the Lord. Why? Because Prahlad Maharaj is in his family. And because the Lord feels so much affection to Prahlad, then because of that person in his family, he's also giving mercy to them. So Sudevi mentioned something to me earlier today, which I thought was very interesting. She said, because we come into the family of Guru, Gurukul, the family of Guru. This is really the meaning of Gurukul. We come into the family of Krishna, Krishna Sansar. Because of the connection that we have to our Gurudev, maybe our family members might also get to meet a transcendental personality and receive their mercy. It might be like that, directly or indirectly, like Gurudev told Sudevi, that somehow by trick you should give Krishna to your family. And so she did. She made, what was that?
Cheese manicotti.
Cheese manicotti. And she offered it to Krishna and then served all of them. And the first question they had at the dinner table, so you go to India, so why do they worship a cow? So what's that stuff you wear on your head? Well, the first thing Sudevi said, well, as you all know, and she wasn't supposed to say it, but because they asked after taking prasad, she said, as you know, I'm a Hare Krishna. The grandparents were like, oh my God. But it was done. Gurudev said, this is what Guru does. Sometimes directly, sometimes through the disciples. They give Krishna to the conditioned souls, to those who are suffering in this material world. Yes?
I just have a question. Earlier you were saying that it was the younger sister of Bali Maharaj who had that, and I thought it was his daughter.
So today I read from Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj that it was his younger sister, and previously I've heard that it was his daughter, Ratnamala. So that's why I said either his daughter or younger sister. In any case, a younger sister is also like a daughter, because the older brother has so much vatsalyata, protective mood. So I don't know the details.
I didn't hear you say or. I just heard in the process, but you just said Bali Maharaj's sister said or felt this, and then I was thinking, okay, sorry.
So at that time, because Prahlad Maharaj had appeared, then Vamandev, who was also non-different from Nrsimhadev, non-different from Vishnu, he felt affection well up in his heart. So instead of only having Bali Maharaj bound, he said, okay, you have given me everything. Now I want to be the donor. So he said to Bali Maharaj, what would you like? Because he reciprocates naturally, right? As one approaches me, I reciprocate accordingly. So Bali Maharaj gave him everything. So now he is offering, what would you like? Bali Maharaj said, please always keep your foot on my head and never let it go. So beautiful. Always keep your foot on my head and never let it go. And then he was asked anything else. And he said, I have 49 gates to my kingdom. I might go out this way or this way or this way or this way. I don't know which one I will leave, but please, you should always be my gatekeeper. So Vamandev had to be his gatekeeper. And he was there for so long that it is said that Lakshmi Devi herself came as a Brahmani to beg some mercy from Bali Maharaj. And she even tied Raki, the younger sister ties a band on the wrist of the brother. So she treated Bali Maharaj like her older brother, that you should protect me and you should give me something. And what was she asking for? Please allow me to have my husband back. So there are 3 Vamandevs. There's the Vamandev who is the husband of Lakshmi in Vaikuntha, or as Vishnu. That Vamandev, he's there. There's one who is eternally present with Indra as Upendra, and then there's the Vamandev who is eternally present as the guard at the gate of Bali Maharaj. So he gave his mercy by always giving his association and always keeping his lotus feet on the head of Bali Maharaj. So there's so many beautiful teachings in this katha that we've heard, but especially this Atma Nivedan. Bali Maharaj had this inclination because of association with a pure devotee. So it is so essential that we can offer ourselves in love and service to Krishna. And simply by doing that, then anyone that we connect with, especially our family members and our devotee family members, they can all be benefited. That is how we benefit by the association of Gurudev, because he's completely transcendental, completely surrendered at the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. So by that association, we also become purified. Tomara hridaya, Gangara Pakshahole, Pashtate Pavan, Darshane Pavitra Koro Eto Maragum. Just by having darshan of such a personality, one's heart is purified. So by the association with Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj was given this, you cannot call this liberation. He rejected the ideas of mundane morality, that one has to follow their guru no matter what. If your guru is opposed to the service of Krishna, in this case, Radha Krishna, if your guru is opposed to Radha Krishna, if your guru is opposed to the service of Bhagavan, they are not fit to be your guru. If the demigods are opposed, they're not fit to be in that position. If your father or mother is against, Gurudev said, I read it today, it was so beautiful. Gurudev said that if anyone has any inclination to serve Krishna, then somehow we should encourage and support that. This will be kindness, because the soul can never be happy otherwise. Otherwise, we'll just keep them bound in this material world, in samsara, experiencing birth, disease, old age, death, adhyatmic, adhibautic, and adhidaitic miseries. In samsara. What is the use of that? So if someone has an inclination to actually engage themselves in the service of Krishna, then our duty in any position, whether young, old, senior, junior, is to encourage to the utmost, to the maximum extent that, yes, you should run on that path to Krishna. And also, I will run on that path. Gurudev said it's very easy to encourage another, but we'll be like, no, you should go, but I will maintain my material attachments. No, we should also give ourselves. So Bali Maharaj is prominent in all Shastras because of his surrender to the Lord, and that Lord had to take a very beautiful form to trick him. Chalayasi vikramane balim adbhutavamana padanakanira janita janapavana. So he took a very tricky or deceptive form. How sweet is this? So his giving of mercy is sweet. His giving of liberation is sweet. His chastisement is sweet. He chastised him also, but then he gave him such a beautiful benediction by always remaining in his association, always giving him the nectar of his lotus feet. So Sri Vaman Avatar ki jai, Sri Bali Maharaj ki jai, Sri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Narasingha Bhagavan told Prahlad, 21 generations. For Prahlad it was 21 would be liberated. And it's not that, it's an automatic thing, but their opportunity comes. I read the other day, it's not that they will just suddenly, they can do any nonsense they want and boom, they're liberated. But that opportunity arises for them. If there is a devotee in the family, then there's an opportunity which is given, and we, or those who have heard about Krishna, can help to increase the opportunity of those who we come in contact with.
Doesn't liberation actually mean for us, especially in Kali Yuga, coming to the path of bhakti, especially coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Because liberation comparatively is very easy. So, like I've had Budara Prabhu, he said that liberation is in so many devotees' charts. But that doesn't mean that they're not coming back to this world, because that's not their destination, to be liberated.
There's a general idea of liberation, and then there's the purest or maximum idea of what liberation is. And this was discussed with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So general liberation means freedom from material suffering. So one can become free from material suffering, and that's one kind of liberation. But that's not really the maximum extent of liberation. So it has not been defined. Nowhere do we read or hear that if you are a devotee, that everyone else who's in your vicinity is going to automatically suddenly become a pure devotee. But will attain liberation? Yes, that might mean freedom from suffering. But real liberation means the opportunity to awaken your internal relationship with your Ishtadev, with Krishna, in loving service. That is the real meaning of mukti. Mukti pade sadaya bhak. Mahaprabhu explained that really the final or real pure definition of mukti, liberation, does not only mean freedom from material suffering, because that's still devoid of service to the Lord.
So it's basically unplugging the fan. but it's still spinning. Sangsara is still going, but it's slowing down.
Something like that. Did you all hear that? I thought that was excellent. Thank you for sharing that. We were requested to sing Bhaja Hare Mana. So, okay.
Let me see, was it Devaki?
Yes. So Shyam Das, Radhika Dasi asked, do we know why the Lord pushed Bali Maharaj into the nether regions? This was the place that the Lord gave him to reside because he had already reclaimed the entire universe, but he still had to give him a place. So he gave him a place in Sutal. Srila Gurudev explained that actually this place was much more, it's called the subterranean heavenly planets. Even much more amazing and much more beautiful, much more majestic than even Indralok. So it wasn't a bad place in terms of the material benefits that it afforded, but that is the place that Vaman Avatar gave for him to reside. And anything else? Please take a little longer. Are you sure? No. Because Bali Maharaj rejected his guru to serve the Lord and surrendered and offered his head. So I'm wondering why he still had to go to the hellish regions. Hellish is different than nether. Hell is being ignorant of one's relationship with Krishna. And hell can also mean suffering in those hellish planets that are mentioned in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, which we won't go into at this time. But because Vaman Dev was always present with Bali Maharaj, and Bali Maharaj was always receiving the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord on his head, how can that be hell? We cannot call it hellish regions. He had completely surrendered to the Lord, so there's no meaning of hell there. That's why the pure devotee will say, if in your service I have to go to hell or this or that, all of it is the same for me in your service. Right? Hell is when you are not happy. If I have to suffer so that you are happy, then let it be, as long as you are happy. So Bali Maharaj, he surrendered completely to the lotus feet of the Lord. This is Atma Nivedan, and because of this, you cannot call it hell. This is more than heaven. This is more than liberation. This is beautiful mercy. So, thank you. Whoa. Reasonings from scriptures. Who's that? Charles? Okay. I'll read it later. Thank you for sharing that. Goswamipada ki jai, Kanya Mahamahotsav ki jai, Vikrama Srinityananda ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandana Gaurahari ki jai, Radha Bihari ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Hari Nam Satyamande Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Shivanande Avatar ki jai, Gaurabanda Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari. Govinda Shri Jiva Goswamipada ki jai. Shri Vamandev Avatar ki jai. So thank you all very much for being with us today, in giving us the opportunity to remember and share the beautiful teachings of our Gurudev and our Guru Varga, and for engaging us in our Guru Seva. We look forward to being with all of you tomorrow. Tomorrow we will observe the day of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur.
Jai.
So Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki jai. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.